Hi everyone, my name is Kristen. This is Visionaries Playground. I'm the one-woman show behind everything that you see. Today is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be doing a tarot pick a card. I'm going to be actually sitting down with you, talking to you. What is a spiritual awakening? What does it mean when people say they're going through a spiritual awakening? What does it mean with what is reincarnation? What is past lives, shadow work, inner child work? We're going to uncover all of this. May not necessarily be only in this episode. I do want to try to keep these episodes about 30 minutes. That way it's bite-sized information and you're not overwhelmed with just a bunch of stuff. So with that being said, I do want to mention that I think my schedule right now, as far as when I record videos, especially my tarot videos, it'll be Monday and Fridays will be my pick a card readings, and then Wednesday, as long as it might be every Wednesday, every other Wednesday. Right now it's every Wednesday. I will be sitting down with you guys kind of like right now, and I'm starting off with this little mini series on what is a spiritual awakening. I'm going to uncover this. It might be a few part series, and then kind of go from there. And so I also want to start off this video by giving you just a little bit of information about me. I'm not really going to do a full-on introduction in this video. I think that I would rather wait to do that once I just have a little bit more of a following on here, because I will have to eventually introduce myself again. So I do want to wait just a little bit, but I will, especially with the Spiritual Awakening series, I will tell you bits about me, because I think that is one of the best ways, especially if you are going through like the beginning stages of your spiritual awakening, or you're going through your dark night of the soul where you just feel completely lost and don't know who you are. It's very comforting to hear somebody else's story, and I have no problem sharing mine. So with that being said, I guess let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, I want to start off by giving you my definition of a spiritual awakening, and then giving you a little bit of information about me, and then we'll jump into the rest of the video. So in my opinion, a spiritual awakening is a very profound moment in our life. We begin to accept ourselves for who we truly are. We start showing appreciation for any hardships that we've endured or any lessons that we've learned in the past. And we also have this appreciation for any hardships or lessons we may learn in the future. And I think that once you start realizing that you are a soul in a physical vessel here to learn lessons, we all come down with a soul purpose. We all come down with a contract of sorts. And I think once you begin to understand that and realize that, it makes life so much easier. Especially because on this earth, we live in kind of like a third dimensional state. We have one collective of people that are awakened, and we have another collective of people that aren't necessarily there, or they just don't really pay any mind to it. And then we have these other group of people. I think we can classify this into three groups: the people that could wake up, the people that are awoken in this lifetime right now, and then the people that are just sucked into this earthly realm. And we'll get more into that later, as far as the people that are sucked into this kind of like earthly realm. They're kind of like, their veil is just so thick, they can't really see anything outside of earth and the physicality of earth and the materialism. And then we're also going to get into like our ego and our higher self. So a lot to uncover in this episode. But like I said, a spiritual awakening is a very profound moment in our lives. And it doesn't matter that you start your spiritual awakening at the age of 20. It does not matter if you don't step into this side of you until you're 50. It really does not matter, because on this earth we have a linear time. Outside of this earth, linear time does not exist. This moment right now is past, present, and future outside of earth. But because we are on earth, we have an arbitrary calendar and we have a linear time. It does not mean that our time is linear. If everyone's time was linear and we were on the same like timeline, our lives would be so boring, because like everyone would be doing what we're all doing. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, I think it's completely cool that we come here with, they call it like a veil of amnesia. So before we come down to this earth, we are a soul. You know, we are a soul, and we have lived other lives. You could be a new soul that's never lived any other lives. There's also souls that have only incarnated on earth right now for the reason of awakening this collective consciousness. So there are souls that have lived in other like star systems, but not necessarily ever been on earth. And then we have people on earth that have been reincarnated for thousands of years, that have lived many lifetimes, and these can also be referred to as an old soul. So if you've ever been called an old soul in your life, it's very likely that you have reincarnated either on this earth or just in general a various amount of times. Me personally, since I was like 16 or 17, I've had tons of people tell me I was an old soul. I mean, when I was 18, I was hanging out with all the like the 30, 40-year-olds. I had a couple of friends my age, but for the most part, I really hung out with older people. And I was always told that I was an old soul. So more than likely, if you are an old soul, you've probably already been told that in your life. If not, and you feel that way about yourself, then that is what you are. And we're also getting more into past lives in maybe a different episode, because past lives is one of my passions. I love learning about past lives. I have really been obsessed with the idea of reincarnation since I got my first smartphone in high school, because I remember like Googling in high school, like, what is Buddhism? What is reincarnation? Like, I was so interested in everything other than this like I want to say Christianity, because my family is very Christian and that is kind of what I grew up with. So, but I never really aligned with those philosophies, and I would like to get into that. I think I don't judge anyone for their faith. I don't care what religion you are, as long as you respect my opinions, I respect yours. And I would like to also get into that maybe in another episode, as far as where I come from and my background, as far as like religion and what I stand for and what I believe in. But like I said, from a very early age, I was very obsessed with the idea of reincarnation. And I remember being 18 and telling one of my friends, like, I want to learn about my past lives. Like, I know I have past lives. Like, I would really be, how do I learn about this? And at that time, I did not know any of the things that I know now. I did not know about the soul purpose. I did not know about, I didn't know ways to tap into past lives. And there are two ways that I know. It can be through hypnotherapy and do a past life regression. And you could also do a guided meditation, that is past life regression meditation. I think that the hypnotherapy is probably just an easier way to kind of tap into your past lives, because I haven't tried the past life regression meditation, only because it's like an hour long, and I'm at the point where I can really only meditate for 30 minutes and then I'm like done. I would really, in the future, I have actually looked up hypnotherapists in my area, surrounding areas, and I found a really cool guy that I want to go to. Session's about 4.5 hours, but the beauty of going to a hypnotherapist and doing like a past life regression is that they should record the session, and you can write down all the questions that you want to ask, which, like I said, I would like to get more into past life maybe in a separate episode, because there is so much to uncover here as well. But basically you can ask questions like, why, because sometimes like in past lives, like depending on what happened, I'm going to use an example from a book I read by Brian Weiss, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but he also implemented hypnotherapy into his therapy sessions, and he ended up having someone come in with like these deep-rooted fears and deep-rooted anxiety, and nothing in her lifetime, like this lifetime that she was in right now, nothing had happened for her to have these deep-rooted fears and anxieties, but they were at the point where she could not function in life. So she came to Brian, and he put her under, started doing the hypnotherapy, and she started recalling a past life, and he had never encountered that before. It actually is what catapulted his career into studying past life regression. So I highly recommend that book. I'll actually link it down below. But basically, like, she had a deep-rooted fear of drowning, and in one of her past lives, she actually, like, her throat was slit, and like she bled out, and so that fear of drowning came from that. But basically what happened was, so when she confronted that situation in that past life, in her physical life that she's living now, or that she was living at that time, whatever you want to call it, she actually, those fears of drowning, they were eradicated. And a lot of people, like, so especially if you have been reincarnated on this earth before, and you have went through very traumatic things in your past life, it can kind of like scar your soul in a way. And I think that is really what happened with this particular woman, was that her soul was scarred in a way, which then is, but the past life regression is what helped her overcome those fears. And that is one way past life regression can help. So when I say, like, what questions do you want to ask if you were to go see a hypnotherapist, it's because you can ask questions like, maybe you do have fears, or you have a certain way of acting, and you don't necessarily like these things about you. You can ask, like, what happened in my past life for me to think this way, act this way, especially if nothing in your like current life, like nothing kind of matches up to the way you're feeling. But we can get into that in a different episode. Like I said, I really just want to focus on a spiritual awakening. What does it mean? What is our soul purpose? And kind of just dive into that. But so let's, I guess, dive into a little bit about me, so some of my background. I will say from a very early age, like I said, I knew that I was here for a deeper reason. I have always believed in a higher power, never really knew what to call it up until, I don't know, recently is when I really started being comfortable with the idea that I don't label myself as a religion, that I am just a spiritual vessel, I'm a soul, and that's where I'm at right now. But like I said, from a very early age, I was very intrigued by the idea of there is more to this world than we can see. Like, I wanted to know why we were here. Like, it made no sense to me. Like, I just wanted to know why we were here. Like, what was my purpose? Why are we, like, because in my mind, it did not make sense that people say that we just lived here and then we died and that's it. Like, I used to be so scared at the idea of death when that was my like thought process, when people would be like, oh, you kind of just die and then like that's it feels like you're sleeping forever. So like I would try to imagine that, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Like, that does not sound right at all. And so I used to be so scared of the idea of dying and death and like and this afterlife, I was so scared of it. And then over the years, I've kind of learned more and stepped more into what I believe now, which is that we are infinite souls, and we are souls of higher consciousness. We are just learning and living out either karmic lessons, karmic debt in this lifetime. And also, we are here, outside of this earth, we are all one consciousness. We all came from this a divine source. And I think that's one thing that all religions can kind of agree with, is that there is a divine source, that there is a higher power. And so, like, outside of this earth, we were all one at one point, and the idea was that God put us out to be able to gather information, and the idea is to be able to come back to him and kind of, like, I don't know, record, and I guess you just come back to him with all the knowledge that you've learned and all the lessons that you've learned. I highly suggest picking up a Dolores Cannon book. I say that because Dolores Cannon is a hypnotherapist as well. Well, it was. She unfortunately did pass a couple years ago, but at the age of 50, she started doing hypnotherapy. And so in her sessions, she would do past life regressions, but then she would have like higher, like ascended masters and like higher consciousness beings come through her patients, clients, whoever, like people that she put under the hypnotherapy. Like she would have like these enlightened beings come through and give her information, and I highly suggest reading The Convoluted Universe. It is a very, very deep book, but it really goes into a lot of why we're here, what got started, why did we decide to come to this earth, like, you know, basically just everything. She also has videos on YouTube. So like I said, I'll link some of these things down below too, especially if you are interested in learning more. But I highly suggest reading her book. But like I said, from a very early age, these are the things that I thought. Like I was like it makes no sense that we just die and nothing happens. Like it makes no sense to me. Like I really like. I always believe that there's an afterlife. I always believe that we can connect with an afterlife. Like, and it's true. We do have one. Like, and so whenever, like I said, that's what really got me more of the idea for when that time does come for us to pass from this earth. That gives me just like a little bit more, I guess you could say it relaxed me in a way to know that there is a life after death. I don't want to go too much into my story as far as like how my childhood was, and I don't really want to go into as far as like what led me to the point I'm at right now. I want to go over a little bit, but I don't want to go in depth because I really just want I want that to be a whole other episode. Especially when we do go into like the dark night of the soul and inner child healing. I think that is where my story really fits in, because from a very early age, I kind of just had to grow up really fast. My dad abandoned my mom. My mom was a teen mom. Well, she had me at 19, right out of high school. My biological dad, pretty much abandoned me. I've met him when I was like maybe 2 or 3, but in my adult life, actually, I don't even remember. Like if he walked in off the street, I could probably not even tell you what he looked like. But yeah, so I struggled with abandonment issues. My mom also was growing up. She had a very traumatic childhood, so growing up out of that environment and then raising a kid, she did the best with what she could, but she did put a lot of her trauma onto me, which made me have to grow up very, very fast. You know, I don't want to go into too much of a detail right now. I do want to say my mom is a great person. Do not bash her. We have long since had a talk about everything that happened when I was a kid, and I understand that she was just coming out of a place of her own trauma, and that is really one of the beauties of going through a spiritual awakening, is because you come from a fresh perspective of, okay, at our core, we are good people, okay? Like as a soul, we are good. Outside of this earth is nothing but unconditional love. And so like at my core, I know that about everybody. I know that everyone comes from a good place. It's just, you know, once we come to this earth, we have conditioning. You have, you know, your childhood and what shaped you. And it's like, I don't think there's any excuse for being a crappy person to another human. But I do think that some people do deserve grace. And like, for instance, my mother, she definitely deserved grace because she did the best with what she could. But like I said, as a child, growing up in the environment of her, I don't want to say she's a narcissist because she's not, but I do think that my mom had like narcissistic like tendencies, and I think she just learned from her childhood, and yeah. But I'm not going to go into my mom's childhood. I will say my mom's was probably a little bit more traumatic than mine. As far, yeah, I would say that. Mine was just more traumatic in terms of emotional. And like I said, just having to grow up really fast, which is not ideal. But I don't know. Like, I think, like I said, at a soul level, we do choose our parents. And for a while, I was like, why would I choose the parents that I chose? But looking back, I would say I chose my parents because of the fact that I am here to be kind of like a light worker, a spiritual teacher or guidance. I don't know what you would even call that. But I am here to spread the word of love and light and encourage people to also turn to themselves, to heal themselves and connect, because we all have a spirit team as well outside of this earth. We, like I said, on a soul level, we choose these, they call it spirit guides. You can call them your angels, your guides, your spirit team, but basically it is a team of people that you, it could have been like people that you reincarnated with before. It could have been like a very significant person that you had in a past life before that is now just assigned to you as kind of like a guidance in a sense while you're in this physical form. And everyone has the power to tap into the wisdom, and everyone has the power to tap into the guidance that your spirit team can offer you, which can also be attained through meditation, through journaling. Sometimes I'll channel them through my writing, but that is also that would be also another video. But yeah, we do have a spirit team. So I'm trying to think where I was going. I apologize if these videos are kind of like from like one topic to another. I feel like this topic of spirituality and metaphysical, there's just so much information. So that is why I jump from one thing to another, but it all kind of, it correlates with each other. So I apologize if it confuses you, but, as far as my awakening process, I will say that I have definitely grown spiritually a lot more in the last year or so. And I think that last year there was like a very like a collective awakening, because there's a lot of people out there that are now realizing these things about themselves, realizing that they're a soul taking form in a physical vessel. They're realizing that they you really do have the power to create your own reality. And when people say that, it's not just about like manifesting and like writing down and then it happening. Like that is where your spirit team comes in. That is where, that's where your spirit team comes in. Divine source comes in. You work through the lessons in this lifetime, and along the way you want a new career, you want a new house, and so these are the things that you manifest. And like I said, it's not as simple as just writing it down like some people will tell you, but it is really cool because you can work with your spirit team, and your spirit team is always here for you. They're always here. One thing is that we're never alone. As a human, we kind of have like I want to say like a block, kind of like the human brain couldn't comprehend seeing everything. Like there are multiple dimensions. Like I said, we are just in this third dimension. There are multiple dimensions, and our human brain couldn't possibly comprehend everything. So therefore, we are very limited to what we can see when we're in this human form, which is why you have people that can see spirits. We have the mediums and we have sidekicks and stuff. I don't personally see like people per se. I have more of like a clairvoyancy as far as like like an inner knowing. I also will see little orbs, but I don't see full on like physical people, which some people do. But like I said, that's not, we all have the power to do these things though. It's just some people are more, I think, more comfortable, more open. Some people's sole purpose is to like shed light on these things. So that's another reason why it might be easier for some people to do things like that. But like I said, we are never alone. We always have our spirit team around you. And they can even come. I want to get this will definitely have to be a completely another video, but as far as like signs, they can come in the form of different ways, repeated numbers, animals, and we'll get into spirit guides and signs in a different episode. Like I said, this was more of just like an introductory, what you can expect to see out of this series. A small introduction of myself, not very long, but I really just wanted to sit down and tell you what a spiritual awakening is and what you can expect out of this series. Like I said, this is just an area that I have read a lot about, I know a lot about, I read books constantly about, watch videos about, documentaries. There's even documentaries on Netflix, and I'll link all of these resources down below. If you wanted to watch a Netflix documentary before you check in with me next week to see the next episode, I would definitely suggest at least watching the first episode of Surviving Death. It goes into people's near-death experiences and how the death experience, like it's all the same. Like it's like everyone is seeing, there was a lot of synchronicities between people that had near-death experiences, and also people that have gone through past life regression. To get to another life, you have to experience the death experience, the birth experience, in order to get to past lives. And so, especially in Dolores Cannon books and in the Brian West books that I have read, they are all very similar stories, as far as like we have these teachers we come to when we die, and they basically will tell you if it's your time or not. And that is a lot of what that near-death experience is about, is because that near-death experience documentary that I just mentioned is about. Basically, like even in the first episode, this woman was like, I was physically dead. I was dead, like for an extended amount of time, like not just 5 minutes. Like I want to say this lady was like dead for like 20-30 minutes, okay? But what she experienced was, when she died, she was met by these teachers that she knew she had been with before, not necessarily in this life, but she knew them. They were familiar, felt like home. And she basically went into this like waiting area, and that's when they said, it's not your time yet, you have to go back. And then she came back to her physical body. And that is one thing that if you start reading about these things, like you will see that synchronicity. And that is another way you know that these things are real, is when we have more than one person giving the same like experience. Is another reason why I know these things to be real. Some people don't, but it's just okay. I think it's just because some people really do rely on just like the scientific facts and everything, and metaphysical, holistic, like spirituality, it's very anecdotal. But I've had really cool experiences. I've read other people's cool experiences, so I know it to be true. But yes, we will definitely get into that though, as far as like what, when we come here and we, like I said, we choose our parents, we choose this like life path, we choose our physical bodies, our location, and when we do die, we do pass and go to this waiting area. And I would really love to just go into that more. Like I said, this is just an introductory video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I would like to mention in this first video. Honestly, I think that is where we'll cap it, just because I don't want to give out too much information. But like I said, so next episode it'll either be a dark night of the soul, or it'll be more of like a spirit guide, spirit team, how to connect with them. I will journal and kind of see intuitively like what my guides want to get out, because how I came up with the idea of starting with a spiritual awakening series is because I journaled about it, asking for more clarity on what kind of videos I should do outside of tarot on this channel, and this is what I came up with. And for the last 3 days I have been nonstop writing things down. I also have a blog post in the works about what a spiritual awakening is, and healing from trauma is all wrapped into one blog post. So that is also, like I said, just one thing that it's a really big theme and topic that I want to get into. So I'm really excited. But apologize if this video was a little all over the place. Like I said, this was just an introductory. Kind of wanted to sit back, have a conversation with you. And even this could be a podcast in the future. I can turn this into podcast audio. If you are interested, let me know down below. But yeah, if you are excited for this series, tell me down below. If you have any questions that you personally want answered, let me know. I would love to do like a little Q&A session before each video. I think that would be so awesome. And I can even incorporate some of your guys' questions into the video. So yeah, I want your feedback. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the little bell so you get notifications when new videos come up. I will see you Friday for the pick a card reading, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that this series can be enlightening and can teach you guys some information that you might have not known, or can kind of confirm and lift that like veil of amnesia that we experience when we come down for this human experience. Hopefully that I can kind of clear the passages so that you can remember that you are an infinite soul that has been here before. But many blessings, everyone. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.